Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Mirza and today I want to talk about BBC Symphony Orchestra, a huge instrument that was just released by Spitfire Audio, a company that doesn't need too much introduction if you've been active in the composing world in the last decade. For anyone not familiar with their products, I'll just say they had some of the most advanced libraries released over the past years, like the Albion series or the Hans Zimmer series. Here we have BBC Symphony Orchestra that is on a whole new level, and I'm saying this for multiple reasons. First reason, they have decided to build their own plugin, which is different, and no longer they depend on Contact or any other third-party plugin for that matter. They have their own Spitfire Audio BBC plugin. It works perfectly fine. It is very simple to use, but at the same time, it covers so much. Um, Another thing I have to mention is that the library comes with four different sections of the orchestra. So we have woodwinds, brass, percussion, and strings. And the best part of that is that they are all recorded in the same hall, same space, using the same reverb, and all the different microphone positions are recorded in that space. So that makes all these four sections very, very compatible with each other, and you can basically make an amazing sound right outside of this instrument without having to introduce an external effect to compensate. So that's a really good feature as well. Uh, I would like to mention my current system specifications because, as you can see here, the CPU, disk, and memory footprint seems to be very low, but compared to other instruments, the actual memory footprint is pretty large, but it also means that the quality of the sounds is pretty good. So that's kind of a trade-off you have to count in. Uh, my memory is pretty low at this moment. I'm using only 24 gigabytes, and with these instruments loaded, my memory is sitting at 16 gigabytes. So as you can see, some of these instruments were disabled. Main reason, the memory footprint. And I have some of these tracks bounced into audio to compensate for that. So this is basically my workflow anyway, but in this case I really had to do it because of the memory issues I had. So if you're planning to buy this instrument, make sure you have as much memory as possible, but I would say a minimum is probably 64 gigabytes, which I will have to upgrade to anyway. So that's regarding performance. Honestly, the only thing that I noticed, memory is really low if you're using this instrument. I mean, in all fairness, memory is very important for any library. So if you're planning to buy a library of this scope, make sure you have enough memory to cover for that. Um, Final thing I will say about the instrument in technical terms is that it size of the instrument is 527 gigabytes. So these samples are they're huge. So if you have limited space, or if you have a hard drive, I would recommend getting an SSD dedicated to this instrument alone. So what I did is I bought an M2 SSD, and it makes a really large difference in loading speed. For testing purposes, I downloaded this instrument on a hard drive and loaded it from there, and I immediately had issues with playback. My disc would jump up to 50% as soon as I started playing something live on the keyboard. But here on an M2, if I start playing something, it doesn't create that crazy response. So let's see here on BBC Violins, for example, if you play something, your disc will go up to about 12%, and even if you play chords with like 6 notes at a time, it goes to 20 tops. So voices, number of voices can be limited here if you're concerned about performance, but I haven't experienced any problems with voices unless I press like all keys at the same time. Then it's breaking everything. Of course, you don't want to do that. um, in addition to that, I don't have any other remarks. If you have any questions about performance, of course, you can leave a comment. I'll be happy to let you guys know. But the download itself took about 24 hours. It was downloaded through the Spitfire audio application. it's a little bit slower than normal download because it's installing the instrument as it downloads it. So it's a parallel process, and that's why it takes a little bit longer. But at the end of the download, you will have a fully operational instrument. And it's also important to mention they have 5 different files to download, so you can download the plugin itself, which is only 100 megabytes, and then download each section separately. And they all work separately, so you don't have to wait for the whole 5 sections to test your instrument. You can download the smallest one, which is about 80 gigs, and then play with that until while the other ones are downloading. So that's also a good thing. Um, Here I have a short but sweet project I made last night in preparation for this episode. It's basically just a little showcase of what the instrument can do. It's definitely not finished, um, but I would like to play it back for you guys so you can hear how this sounds outside of the box without any external plugins. As you can see, my stereo out here has some automation on it, but that's just volume. My insert channel was filled with Revelation Reverb Ozone Maximizer, which works on maximizing the volume. It doesn't change the quality of the sound. And then the limiter just for limiting purposes. But I want to actually play this back without any external plugins whatsoever, so you can hear the vanilla sound. And yeah, so let's go. All right. So as you could hear, the dynamic range is crazy good. All of these dips and peaks are really emphasized in a good way. Um, I probably could have done better here with automation and different expressions, but I didn't have much time, so I just wanted to kind of give you a rough preview. Uh, all these different sections, I saved my MIDI files, of course, so I could always potentially go in, enable this track, fix the MIDI, export it back to audio, and that would work. Um, I also have all these different percussion elements and brass and woodwinds that I didn't go crazy with. I basically used a couple of instruments per section, um, but I did use the full string section just because I love strings. So I hope you like the sound. I myself think it's very, very good. Uh, I didn't use any reverb. I used the basic mic position or the initial mic position they have loaded as a default one, mix one. I can only imagine because all of these different mics are super crazy on my RAM, but I can only imagine down the line when I'm able to play with all of them and mix and match all of them for different sections of the orchestra, how crazy good the sound can be. Even with the mix set at, I mean the microphone set at the mix one, I still got amazing results in my opinion. Without any processing, any tweaking, you get this amazing sound. I will play it back one more time with the maximizer on, just so you guys can compare. Uh, the maximizer doesn't do anything other than increase the volume, so there is no change in quality of the sound. It's just it's a little bit louder. So let's hear it one more time with the maximizer. All right, so as you can hear, it's just louder, but overall the sound didn't change. I noticed my violins one are a little bit too loud in some areas, but nothing that can't be fixed. It just tells you how good of a modulation or how good of a dynamic range you have with the modulation wheel. Uh, Basically, if I solo this violin section here and play it back, you will see the modulation wheel and the expression are changed at about 50%. That's the average value I have here. And with the maximizer on, it sounds really loud. But even when you play at lower dynamic range, even if you play at lower dynamic range, you can still hear that bite, but at the same time it's not too loud. Without the maximizer on, this sounds very soft, and then you can use Consordino to get that super smooth violin sound. Um, all of these articulations are covered by the official Spitfire Audio crew on their YouTube channel. They have released, I think, a tutorial for each of these sections. So if you would like to know more about the articulations themselves, I would recommend watching that video. Other than that, if you have any questions for me, like if you have any requests, what kind of feature you would like me to cover, or if you would like me to cover specific sections or specific instruments, you can always leave a comment and I'll be happy to look into that, see if I can make some sort of a video for you or anyone who might need it. Overall, I am very happy with this instrument. I'm happy that I purchased it. I am super excited to continue working on my music, and this instrument immediately gives me inspiration. That's something that I've been struggling with lately, and as soon as I loaded these sounds, I knew that that was it. So definitely more to come from me here. But if you do have any sort of request or question related to this instrument or Cubase or any production related questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Leave your comment, and thanks again for your patience today and for joining me. I hope that you have a good rest of your day.